Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. It's your girl, Sonia McQueen, with Your Mind, Your Body, Your Choice. So, I want to speak to you today about who you have around you and your children, if you have children. This day and age, social media is so prevalent, and dating people without really knowing them first, it's not a big deal anymore. I'll even admit I met my husband on a dating app. Um, and I am the type of person, I honestly feel as though for me it was a better choice than going out and meeting people, because if I go out and meet somebody, they have the opportunity to follow me. I'm going to get their number, they're going to get my number, we're going to speak immediately and talk to each other. But if I meet you on social media and you give me your name and all that, I have the opportunity to look you up before I ever give you my phone number, give you any information about me. And before I met my husband, I had been out with a few guys. I made it clear, this is going to sound horrible, but I had just moved to Florida and I didn't know anybody. And I made it clear I wasn't looking to date. I just wanted to hang out. And I said I didn't care if it was a man or a woman who replied, because I don't want to date. I just want somebody to do things with, go to the movies or go out to eat or a concert or something. And people will respond, but after a couple of times y'all have outings, they want more, and I wasn't trying to give more. So anyway, that's how I met my husband, and we had the opportunity to speak via social media before we went on a date, and then the rest is history. But people will quickly move somebody in their home. It's a warning, it's a red flag when you've been dating somebody 2 weeks and they're talking about they love you and maybe we should move in together. That's a red flag. It's a red flag if they do it in a month. It's just a red flag. And these are things you should look at. But sometimes, even with people you're putting in quality time, they could switch up on you so fast and you don't know where it's coming from. Maybe the guy who becomes possessive after you become committed, and now they don't want you doing this, they don't want you doing that, they might become violent. The girl who just starts popping up everywhere, she's at your job now because she don't believe you're really at work, and she's scratching your car, she's doing, you just never know. So you got to put in your homework and get to know the people around you, but especially when you have kids. Especially, you don't see things all that prevalent and important while you're dating somebody. That's you. But if you have kids, it is extremely important that you do your homework. Look at the headlines these days and see how many people kill kids, um, you know, kill their own kids. The lady who drowned her own kids because her boyfriend didn't like kids. The man who let his girlfriend talk him into getting rid of his son because she didn't want to raise somebody else's kid. It's crazy. But it's crazier the people who come into your home and you go to work and you leave your kids with them, and next thing you know, you don't have kids anymore. This is a really important podcast, you guys, because our kids are worth it. They're worth the extra time to get to know somebody. They're worth it. Don't be so desperate that you throw yourself to the wolves. And don't be so desperate that you throw your kids to them either. I'm going to tell you a true story. And the reason this podcast came up today is because of just something my husband and I seen on Court TV. This guy was dating this girl and he broke up with her, and just the things she did, pouring sugar in his tank, wrote all on his car, poured, just crazy. But I was dating this guy, and I think I spoke about this before, and I really, really like this guy. And we've been dating a few months, and I decided, you know what? I like him. And I'm going to introduce him to my kids. I'm going to invite him over for dinner. So one night we had went out on a date. He took me out to eat, and I think we went to the movies or something. And I told him, I said, you know what? I know you've been wanting to meet my girls. So I think I'm gonna introduce you to my girls. And he was ecstatic. He was just elated. But then I said, but first I'm gonna look you up. I'm gonna check your background, see what I can find, make sure you're okay. And of course, as the night went on, his demeanor changed a little bit. I didn't pick up on it at first, but then he said to me, I want you to know when you look me up, you're gonna find something. And I thought, oh hell, here we go. So he proceeds to tell me a story about how his daughter had this fast 13-year-old friend, and how the friend used to flirt with him all the time, call him green eyes because he had green eyes, and just tell him how handsome he was all the time. And he'd be like, this fast little girl, this little girl. But then him and his wife were having problems. They were on the verge of getting a divorce, and yeah. And how the girl came over one day and he was listening to music. He told her, my daughter's upstairs. He goes into this other room. She follows him, and she's still telling him just how handsome he is. And she pulls up her shirt, exposing her breast. And he says, in this moment, being shunned by his wife, and in this moment, he went and touched the girl's breast. But then he caught himself and he was like, hey, you gotta go, so on and so forth. But the girl tells somebody, and that somebody tells the parents, and the parents tell the police. And now he is on register a pedophile. While he's saying all this, all I know is, you're going to take me home, dude. And that's what I had him do, take me home. Of course, I was not going to see him anymore. Of course, I wasn't going to introduce him to my daughters. Because no matter what his story was, all I heard was I touched this 13-year-old girl's breast. I don't care what you were going through with your wife. That lets me know if the story you even told is true. If that girl would have done more, if she would have came over and your daughter wasn't home, you would have went for it because you're weak. And I had a 13-year-old daughter, or 12-year-old at the time, and yeah, whatever. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't care. So as time went on, I had moved, and one day he sends me a text message saying, he had been texting me and I was ignoring him, telling him to go away in not so kind words. And one day he texted me and said, Tweet, who is my youngest daughter, looks so cute today. And he described what she had on. And for a second, I had fear, and I was thinking, this man is stalking me. He's stalking me, and he's watching my child. But that fear quickly went to anger. I was talking to my best friend on the phone. I was telling her, I'm going to kill him. That's all I could do. And, she talking me down. Because, of course, I don't have a middle. Back then, I was either happy or I was mad. I was mad. So, what did I do? I have a friend named Billy. And some of y'all know who Billy is. But Billy used to live in my trunk all the time. He's a bat. It's a heavy mini bat. And so I went on, and I had a gun. But I went on to his house one day. I just decided, you know what? What's good for the goose is better for the gander. And when he got ready to pull up, I'm sitting on his stoop with Billy. I don't think I had my gun. I think I had Billy. And he sees me, and I guess he thought about it for a second, and he backed up. So I stood up and put my hands up like, where are you going? Where are you going? He backs out of his own driveway and he drives off. Well, he comes back a few minutes later, and I'm not on the stoop anymore. I'm sitting on his other car, still waiting on him. I have this you won't defeat me attitude. Now, did I handle it right? Heck no, y'all. Don't follow in my footsteps. But I handled it my way at the time. At the time. And of course, he gets ready to back out again, and I'm yelling something to him. Point is, my friend calls me and I'm talking to her on the phone, and she talks me down a little bit. I leave, but I never ever heard from him again. Surprisingly, I turned the tables on him. You thought you were gonna stalk me and scare me and put fear in me, but all you did was piss me off. And now I'm gonna give it back to you. That worked in my favor. It might not work in somebody else's favor. So, once again, I suggest you not be as silly as I was. But my whole point was 3 months in, I thought I knew this person and I didn't. I didn't. He's a pedophile. I looked him up after he told me, of course. And yeah, he's a registered pedophile with the state. He can't move without them knowing. It gave his full name, his address. If you go to something that's called Watchdog, Watchdog, I'm gonna look it up while I'm talking to you guys. But if you go there and you even just put in your uh, area, you put in your area code or where you live, it'll show you every sexual predator within a radius of where you live. Every single one of them. It'll tell you their name, their offense, their address, where they live, who their family members are. They don't play. And I love it. It's actually called familywatchdog.us. Write that down. And no matter where you go, do it now. Because I'm going to tell you, first time I heard about this, I was at work, 2004, and a coworker was saying something about it, and I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Oh my God, it's this thing. You put in your address and it tells you every sexual predator who lives around you." And I said, "What? Are you serious?" So we walk over to my desk. She tells me Family Watchdog. I type it in. I put in my address and I see red and I see green and and I'm like, "Okay, this is crazy." So I put in, I click on one of the dots. I click on one of the dots and it is actually my daycare. And I look, the daycare, it's one of those home daycares. She actually had um, ex-offenders, people who just separated from prison. She also doubled as a place they could stay for X amount of time. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. This is just a daycare. I knew her. I had known her for a couple of years. I knew her daughter, and I trusted her because she was on record a daycare. I left work and went straight to her house. I didn't say nothing to anybody. I jumped in my car and left. I knew my child was there, and I knew she had a sexual predator in that house. And I knocked on the door. She opened the door, and I lost my mind on her. And y'all got to understand something about me. I don't yell. My voice doesn't go much higher than it is now, unless I'm laughing. Then it's kind of high. But I don't yell. And the madder I am, the softer and lower I speak. And I let her know under any circumstances, if I find out this person's even talked to my daughter, I will be back. And ever since then, I have put addresses in familywatchdog.us to know where I'm living and who's living around me. And I've been blessed enough to live in neighborhoods where the nearest sexual predator is miles and miles away. It shows you when they live, where they live. Just look it up. Put in your own address if you've never done it before, familywatchdog.us, and see who lives in your neighborhood that is some kind of sexual deviant, rape, incest, child molestation, whatever. And it gives all their information. Now, back to what I started speaking about. Know who you have around you. It's okay. You don't have to tell somebody like I did, well, I'm going to look your butt up. Just do it. You have somebody and you just met them. It's okay to get their full name, get their government name, get their birthday. Type it in. It's free. FamilyWatchdog.us is a free site. Use it. You can go to your, I live in Florida. I can go to floridaprison.com or something like that. Just type in Florida prisons. It'll tell me if that person's been a prisoner in Florida and what they did. It's free. There are no excuses this day and age to say, "Oh, I didn't know they did this." There's no excuses. Even the jail systems, if you go to your sheriff's office or your jail, type it in your browser, it'll show you if that person's been locked up over the last year and what they did. It's free. It's free. And guess what else you can find out if they're married? If they're married, you can find out all kinds of stuff about people. It's kind of scary at the same time. I put in my name, and of course, it brought up that I'm an author, and it brought up all my social media. But if you, well, I'm not going to say it's scary the things you can ascertain from putting in somebody's name in social media this day and age. It's really, really scary. So I'm grateful we live in a gated community. Um, but I'm also grateful that I don't cause any problems and I don't think anybody has any beef with me. People might not like me, but nobody has beef with me. And there's a huge difference. But do your homework. There are just too many applications out there you can use for free to find out who you're dating, who you're letting, and not even dating, even your friends these days can be crazy. Who your friends are. You got a new friend? You got a new friend and you wonder why this friend all of a sudden wants to spend all their quality time with you. They might be crazy or they just might be lonely. But take the time to find out. Put them in social media. We don't think about our friends, you know. All right, I got a new friend, Devin. She's my new friend. You don't think that Devin might be the single white female, single black female. She's all of a sudden trying to be you, dressing like you, done cut her hair like you, and you're like, what the heck is going on? You look Devin up and find out she served 10 years in prison for killing her last best friend. You just never know. And there's nothing wrong with finding out before you share your personal information. I'm saying this, y'all, for safety reasons. I'm part of the Human Trafficking Coalition. I've heard the stories of females befriending a female thinking that they're new besties just for that person to really be setting them up. I'm part of the homeless coalition where I've seen people homeless because they've allowed somebody to move in their house. And next thing you know, they're on the street and that person is taking over their home legally. I just see so much and I just want you guys to be safe. Do the right thing for you. And you don't have to tell somebody what moves you're making. Just do it. Like Nike. Do it. And know how much you're worth. Know how much you're worth. Do your due diligence. A new date, a new friend, people all of a sudden just wanting to come over all the time and they seem to have nothing but time on their hand. There's nothing wrong with looking into it. There's nothing wrong with looking into it. All right, be safe. This is your girl, Sonia McQueen. Your mind, your body, it's your choice. This is your life. Live it full of purpose, love, and life. But don't let anybody come in it and hurt you. And if you have kids, protect them. You can hit me up at Sonia M at ledbymotivation.com or ledbymotivation07 at gmail.com. I have like 12 requests for shows. Some are with other people and some will not be. I actually reached out to 3 people. I did and one turned me down, and it's okay. I love honesty. Don't say you want to do my show and then you go ghost on me. That's just silly. Um, and then 2, you're going to love these shows. And of course, once again, I'm going to interview Dear Eris again because it has been requested. All right. Have a great day on purpose and be purposeful for the love and affection and time you give to other people.